Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are now in Bava Metzia Daf Kuf Daled Amud Aleph in the bottom of the page. Line starts with the word Rabbi Yeshua ben Kocho. We are now about 7 or so lines from bottom of the page. Rabbi Yeshua ben Kocho. Welcome to everybody here in Avos Shalom. Welcome to people who watch us in YouTube, Torah Anytime, colossal, or maybe somewhere else. I want to correct something I said yesterday that usually happens. Yesterday we spoke about the people of Alexandria. The people of Alexandria, their wives would be snatched away from them before they made it to the chuppah, right? And then there was a chash of mamzerus. Maybe those children born out of that marriage are mamzerim. And then because of that, Hillel Hazoken said what? I, like other Tanoim, are doirish loshen hediot. I take seriously the contracts that are done between people, even though Chazal did not initiate or instigate those contracts, but they still taken seriously. And even if they're not written, it's as if they were written, if it's accepted to write them, right? And what would they write in the Ketubah? They would write to the girl at the time of Kiddushin that you are Mekudash. When will you be Mekudash? When you enter the chuppah, right? In other words, because they were snatched before they entered the chuppah, so that's why the Chassanim would avoid that by writing, if you only when you get to the chuppah, then you'll be my Mekudeshes, and then you'll be also the chuppah. You'll be in the suah, basically like we do today. Similar, not exactly, but similar to what we do today. Today we do kiddushin and nisuin, one-stop shop. We do it all in one go. And that, by the way, is to avoid those problems, similar problems also. One, I'm not sure it's a mistake, but I mentioned, I assumed when I spoke yesterday that the people who had snatched them were going. But then yesterday, somebody was mo'er me to think it's not so simple, because if a goy has relations with an Ashes Ish, so she's the, if it's Vemezit, she's a Zoina, she's not allowed to be with the husband, but the kids are not Memzerim, La Halacha. Could be a Machloikis, but La Halacha Shulchan Aruch says the kids as a result of a goy and an Ashes Ish are not Memzerim, because he doesn't have, it's a Zir Masusim, Zir Mosam. They're not called real Zera. When related to an Ashes Ish, Yiddish one. So maybe they were Jewish. I don't know. Maybe the people who snatched them were Jewish. I don't know. Or maybe it's a different opinion who holds that it is mamzerus. It's just an interesting point. The assumption is they're going. If they're going, why is there mamzerus? Something your needs. It's orchiyun. So that's nekuda that I was misheard to yesterday. Okay, fine. Rabbi Shua ben Kocho. Now comes another opinion, another Tana who holds Drosh Loshen Hediot. Rabbi Shua ben Kocho hoyu doirish Loshen Hediot. Rabbi Shua ben Kocho also would be doirish Loshen Hediot. What does that mean? He would take seriously the agreements that are made between Hediotas, things that were not Bichlal made by Chazal. What's the Chiddush? Of course, an agreement has to be kept. The Chiddush is the Tosas and the Rosh say, even if it's not written. Even if it's not written, if it's a very accepted thing to do, it's mechayev as if it's mamish already a takono. Detanya, it says in the Brisa. Rabbi Shua ben Kocho Omer, Amal ve'es chaveroi, a person who lends money to his friend, and now what's the normal thing to do? To take a mashka, a collateral. Lo imashkenenu yoiser michoivoi. Yeah, let's say that the loan was 500. You the malve, don't take a collateral, a mashkon that's worth 600. Yeah, don't take more. Why? The Chorah, it's only just, a mashkon. We know there is a star saying that I owe you 500. The mashkon is just, there are many ways to look at the mashkon, a way to scare him off, to have something in my hand. But of course, I'll give him back the 600 and he'll give me 500. The answer is no. There is an issue of taking a mashkon worthy more than the choiv. Why? Because of the loshen hedir. Shekach koisev loi. This is the accepted thing that was written between Alve and the loive. Tashlumta the islach alai. In other words, the case would be, let's say Reuven and Shimon, Reuven lent money to Shimon. Shimon is the one who owes money. Shimon gives Reuven a mashcoin. Yeah, let's say the mashcoin is worth 600, not 500. And Reuven at some point gives him back the mashcoin, although the milveh wasn't yet paid back, right? Reuven trusts Shimon and gives him back the mashcoin temporarily, but could be for a long time, Lizman Merubeh, even though the milveh wasn't yet paid. That could be. By the way, halachically also you have to do that when it's a person clothes. The pajama, Every night you have to give him the pajama. That's also a point to mention. Now, what's written is, now one could argue and say, one would say, why would the mal give him the mashkon for a long time? He's going to forget. Where's my security as a malve? So he would write him, he would write to him, kol kval, which means the tashlum that you owe me is this mashkon. That mashkon that you got into your hands now, this mashkon itself, the value of this mashkon is what you owe me, right? In other words, instead of writing the original star, there's kilu a new star now saying, whatever item I gave you now, it's going to be by you for a long time. I want to have my security saying that this mashkon, the value of this mashkon is what I, the malva, want to get back. If so, wait a second. If the original loan was 500, and now the mashkon that became the new loan, so to speak, is 600, that's unfair. It's not fair. He really owes him 500. But if we say the mashkon translates into choiv, then no, why? You only lent him 500. Why should he get back 600? Yeah, the mashkon is ki'ilu. Mashkon personifies the milveh. So if the mashkon is more than the choiv, it's going to come out ribis, sheker, gneva. Yeah, why should you take more? And therefore, we made the takana, says Reb Shimon Korcha, that people should never give a mashkon that's worth more than the milveh. Because then the transition can be nice and fair and easy and smooth. Originally, I gave you $500. You didn't pay them back. You gave me a mashkon. I gave you back the mashkon. Kilu, a new second chapter. It all stays in the same amount. If it's a bigger amount, mapitom. Frag the Gemara, time the kosav leihachi is the only reason that the mashkon becomes ki'ilu, owned by the malve, and now when he gives it back to the loive, that's the new loan. It's because it's written. That's because it's written because of the star made up by the hedioitos. However, iloi kosav lehachi loy kanya. If the Baal Mashkoin did not write those words, then we say that the malve did not become the owner of the mashkon. Excuse me, 1 second, please. 1 second. Excuse me, I have to pause a second. In other words, we're familiar with the concept of, which we saw in Daf Pei Beis, in other words, yeah, if I lent money to someone and he gave me his computer as a mashkoin, the computer now belongs to me, to the malve, and we're going to prove it now. Even without the idiotus writing their extra thing, and now we're going to see a practical ramification and a communion from the fact that mashkon given to the malve is now owned by the malve. Now, when he gives it back to the loive without yet getting the original money, the loive is holding an item belonging to the malve in his pocket. Until the malve is not fully paid, the mashkon once given to the malve is kilu caught by the malve, owned by the malve. Now he gave it back to the loive temporarily. It still belongs to the malve. Yeah, belonging meaning that he has to get either this back or the money back. That's even without the star being written. And let's prove it. I'll prove it to you. Mishkenoi, meaning Reuven lent money to Shimon. Shimon, he was memashken, meaning Shimon the loiv, the borrower, gave the computer to Reuven. The heishiv loy, Reuven the malve at some point says, okay, you need your computer, I'll give it to you for a long time. But remember, and they didn't write anything. Remember that computer is something that really you still have the chod, you owe the computer to me, or the money. The mace. Now the guy died. Who died? The loive died. The borrower died. Now, let me ask you a question. Generally speaking, a person who did not leave behind any lands, any pieces of land, only metaltalin, do his children have to pay his debt? No. There's a takonas agionim that they do, but midoraisa, even the midorabonon of the Gemara, the Sisa Yeshar V'Atov, the Kibbutz, it's nice, it's good, it's amazing, and Geoinim later on, I think the Ramah mentioned you do that. Ikar didn't know, because it's two separate accounts, two separate stories. Yorshim are like Lekuchois, it's a whole new story. Yorshim are a new story. If he has a piece of land, the land is Chayev. The land is owed to the Malveh, regardless who the owner is. Yeah, even a Lakoach, right? The land is still owed. However, usually if they're metaltalim, Me'ikra din, the Malveh cannot knock on the door at the end of the Shiva. It's very tactful to wait till the end of the Shiva and say, I want your computer, I want your Shas, I want your chairs. However, in this case, where there was a specific collateral, a mashkoin, that was once given to Reuven the Malveh, and then given back temporarily to Shimon, listen to this, Shoimtem al Gabi Bonov. He's allowed to tell them, it's true that you don't have pieces of land. You guys, as the Gavra, you have no Chiyuv Gavra. Any item in the house is not mine, but the computer is mine. Oh, why? Exactly because we just said, since he gave me his computer, which he bought 10 years ago in the store, and he gave it to me as a malva at some point, it's caught between my claws. What? As a mashkon. Oh, although it's a mashkon, it's owned by the malva. That's a chiddush. I wonder why Rabbi Yitzchak is not mentioned here. Rabbi Yitzchak says the Baal Chav is kohen mashkon, whatever, but it seems to me the same thing. And therefore, although I gave him back the milva, the mashkon, the rov, the mashkon, the whatever you want to call it, the collateral, it's still owned to me. It's in your house, still owned by me. Actually, give it back to me now. So you see what? You see that even without writing star, this is Rabbi Yochanan talking. Rabbi Yochanan is an Amira. It's not some Belabatish agreement that people decided and the Tanoim follow along the humor of the crowd. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who said that the Baal Choiv is the owner of the mashkon with a huge nafkamina, that they really owe, the item is owed back to the person after the death of the loiva. So therefore, why are you telling me this is like something invented by people and that? And what? And that's why afterwards the Tanoim went along. It's a meforsha halacha. Yeah, answers the Gemara. There is enough, and that's even without a star. Not only that, without writing anything. You're saying because people usually write it. No, no. The question also, there's a different way to explain the question. Why do you have to tell me people had to wake up one morning and say we have to write a star saying that the mashkon belongs to the malva? It's anyhow the halacha without the people writing the star. It's a similar question. Yeah. In other words, I don't have to write a star that the shirt belongs to me. I bought it, bikini and meshicha somewhere. You don't have, it's mine anyways. It's not a different nakuda. Why do you have to write the star? You invent a new idea. There's a star written here. As always, the halacha maker adin that the mashkon belongs to the malva. I think it's because of Rabbi Yitzchak's halacha mikan the Baal Chov shekon the mashkon. How do you know Baal Chov is the owner of the mashkon? L'chot yetzedakah. Right? It says the one who gives back a mashkon to his friend, to the loiva, is a Baal tzedakah. Baal tzedakah, he belongs to the loiva. Elamai, Zot Rabbi Yitzchak, and Daf Pei Beis, and many other places, he says because Baal Chov is the owner of the mashkon. So what do you need the star for? And says the Gemara, ahani, the star does help for an extra layer of ownership. Aniksiva legeroin. Oh, legeroin means like this. What's geraon? You shouldn't know. Deficit, right? Geraon babank, yeah. Geraon is a deficit. What does that mean? Let's say the computer has wear and tear. In other words, the computer was, I'm the malveh. Let's say I'm the malveh. I lent 2,000 shekels to someone, took his computer as a collateral. The computer once held by me, it now belongs to the malveh. I gave it because I'm nice. I gave it back to the loiva, reminding him. Now that computer, although now held by him, still belongs to me, the malveh. So why do you need the star? Geroin, let's say uses the computer and there's wear and tear, which there is. The chiddush is that we have to write down and say, you owe me the value of the computer, which is 2,000 shekels, and even if the computer at the end of 2-3 years will be worth 1,500 shekels, you still owe me the original value of the computer of 2,000. That's why, if nothing would be written, then it's true that the item belongs to the malveh, but if there is deficit, if there's wear and tear, without the writing of the star, then let's in the case of the children, they come up from the shiva and they say, true, yeah, we know, no, we're not arguing. Daddy, it's true that daddy gave you the computer. Now he got back the computer. The computer, you know how much a computer is now? Our kids played all over the computer, and now it's worth 1,000. That's what you have, zemayesh. So he's going to get the 1,000 worth computer, not 2. Once you write a shtar, no. If you wrote a shtar means that we freeze it in time the way it is valued now, which is, let's say, 2,000. And even if it will be worth less, you still are owed the original value of the item, of the collateral. And that's why, and by the way, now we also understand why obviously the amount has to be the same. In other words, what does it mean the same? The item that you choose as the collateral, as mashcoin, should be the same value as the original halva, right? Otherwise it's ribis. because alva will translate eventually into the value of the mashcoin, and you're going to stick your feet in the ground and say not 1 penny less, it shouldn't be 1 penny more either, right? And therefore, yeah, if it's 2,000 worth shekel halva, make sure the collateral you take says should be 2,000 and not more. Otherwise, you're, I don't know if it's ribis, it's gzela. Imam is taking money that you're not owed. Yes. Last but not least, another Tana who's Dorish Loshen Hediot, and now we talk about the Ketubah. Rabbi Yossi, Dorish Loshen Hediot, the Tanya. Rabbi Yossi would also follow people's normal Loshen, yeah, when they would make agreements and would follow it la'alocha, even if it's not written, because it's accepted usually to be written. Tanya, it says in the Brisa. Rabbi Yossi, it's actually in Tosefta and Ketubas. All this is mentioned in Tosefta and Ketubas, all the cases. Rabbi Yossi, now, before we continue, the incident I mentioned yesterday, sometimes, we think that being untruthful and paying lip service is not a good thing, and we're right. Yeah, be truthful. However, sometimes there was a concept by some people, which is apparently endorsed by Chazal. Sometimes people would actually write a certain amount in the Ketubah in order to give kavod to the kala and her parents. Yeah, the chosan would say, I'm writing, I owe her 100,000, right? Well, in reality, everybody knew that if there's divorce or almonus, she would only get 50. That was accepted that you always, speak about double. At the end, you'll pay half of that. And it's not called asmachta because it's not. Asmachta means when one guy claims it's true, the other guy claims it's not. Both sides knew, nobody argued. Both sides knew that even though there were certain places that were right, what they meant, what you get is what you see, and there were other places in which the Ketubah was written b'chavana, and everybody knew. It looks nice in the video, It looks nice in the video, in the chasana, in the photos, He would write and say, in case of anything, she gets $1 million, Ashena, Sephardi chuppah in New York, $1 million. Well, in reality, they all knew that it's $500,000. And that's what the accepted thing. In other words, yeah, million meant $500,000. A bit like the base core we saw yesterday, which is really letech. That was the norm and accepted by some people to say and write double and really give half of that double. Why did you say double? That because of the kavod of the kala. Her friends shouldn't think that it sounds nice, it looks nice, interesting. Not usually the Yiddish derech, but that's what people did. And Chazal sort of followed along with Vakasha. She feels good about it. Why not? She wants a nice white dress. She wants a nice caterer. She also has a nice Ketubah. So that's begadol, the story here. Now let's see. However, some places was like that. Some places did not follow that mean hag. Mokem shenagu lases Ketubah milva. In places where the Ketubah was a milva, meaning serious business, between two men, when I lend money or borrow money, I would never, ever, ever, write in the shtar, risk it, and write one more shekel than what I borrow, right? And then, no. You have to be very precise. It's like in the bank, yeah? So in the places where the Ketubah was like a real milva, goive milva. The enachinami, goive milva. Now, that is to say, that, by the way, works both ways, because also in the Ketubah there's money coming to the chosan in the dunya, the nadin in the dunya. She brings, even without nichsamilug, forget about all the korkos nichsamilug and ton barzel. She brings money. She brings a lot of shirts and shoes and night dresses and sheets. What she brings to the chasana, yeah. So all that is also sham, yeah. We sham that. And connected that, he has to give her in case they get divorced. Also, that's a question, how much. But Lamaisa, whatever, the husband will take from Avi Abbas, whatever is written as if it's a milva. In other words, if it says she is bringing into the marriage X amount, it means X amount, not more, not less. That's in some places. And also the other way. The amount she's getting, the Tosefes Ketubah that she gets, also is really what she's going to get. Lichpoil. However, in places where it was accepted that she writes, by the way, it's not just her kavod, it's also the chosan's kavod, and the father of the kala also wants to have the kavod. Yeah, it works both ways. That the money that he brings into the marriage, because she brings money to the marriage usually from her father. Most girls didn't work in the past, So then she would, from the kala's side, they would also write double and really give only half. Yeah. In other words, yeah, she writes in the Ketubah, the Kala brings to the marriage $1 million worth of tachshitim and furniture, whatever the shver gives is edim the chosan. So lichpot in places where it was normal to write double just because of kavod, yeah. Then goiva mechza. Rashi, by the way, mentioned something very interesting. It's not exactly a lie. It's not exactly like we all know it's a million, and really we write we have it. We write a million. They say lo shum esmasha machneses lo kiflaim bedoma b'shul kovod. Look at Rashi. In other words, yeah. In other words, we can assess it differently. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lie that I like the color blue. Let's say your shirt is blue, your shirt is green. I'm not talking about sheker. I'm assessing it kilu it's double. Yeah. She's bringing him sheets and beds and oven and fridge, yeah, worth I don't know 30,000. We ki'ilu assess it as if it's 60,000. Yeah, we decide to ki'ilu reassess it and evaluate it because of COVID of the kala and her father as if it's, get what I'm saying? It's ki'ilu assessing it as if it's double. And what happens if she goes out? Also only half. He's only supposed to give her furniture not worth 60 but 30,000, and it works the other way too. When she leaves the marriage because she gets divorced and it's her fault, or when he dies, he's not going to give her the million. He'll give her $500,000. That's what's accepted. As everyone, nobody argues. Now, bloy, or even if, by the way, if somebody does argue, he's going to lose, right? Let's say the norm is everybody knows all their friends in seminary, they all have those ksubas that are really double, and they're written double, really it's half. If she claims, no, I want the whole thing, we'll tell her, I'm sorry, lady. No, you know that in your place, the minig is to just write double and take half. Nahar Bloy, in the place called Nahar Bloy, yeah, which I think somewhere near Israel, Govu Tilsa, they would actually be goiva a third more. Yeah. In other words, they would do even more. I think they would assess it as a third and be goiva only a third. Yeah. In other words, they would write 3 times over. Yeah. In other words, if you write that what you bring is 100, really she will only get at the end of the day 33.33. Yeah. Instead of they would triple the amount. That's how you say it. They would triple the amount under the chuppah and the ketubah, and knowing very well, both sides know knowingly that she's going to get at the end of the marriage a third of what was said. Maremar magbi nami, yeah. Maremar, yeah. 1 second. Maremar magbi nami shivcha. 1 second. Maremar would be goiva the shvach. In other words, Maremar would take things seriously. Maremar would actually, seemingly, even in places where it was not serious, and people would just say 100,000, and everyone's winking, knowing, it's really 50. Maremar would take things seriously and would be goiva the shvach, the difference, the double. Maremar would say, no nonsense by me. I'm in business. And if I'm a dayan and the marriage terminates not so nicely, at the end of the day, I will actually charge him for everything written in the Ketubah. Omar Ravina Maremar, thank you very much. You're being so emesdik, but Vatanya, it's a brisa. The brisa endorses what people did. Lichpoil goive mechza, right? It says in places where it's normal to write double, we know it's double, and we only collect at the end of the day, the end of the marriage, half. So why do you collect everything? There wasn't the kavana. Loikasha answers the Gemara, no, it's not difficult. Oh, depends if there was a kinyan or there wasn't a kinyan, which means if there was a kinyan of the Ketubah, as I think we actually do today, if the father of the bride, there was a kinyan, they did a Gbas Sudar, and there were koine saying that this Ketubah is obligating through kinyan. Kinyan always makes things more what? Official, serious, irrevocable. Since you said 100,000, and not everyone does kinyan, and you did kinyan, you picked up the kippah, you picked up the handkerchief. Oh, that means that you can't say, I did a kinyan, but I'm only giving lip service. No, you did a kinyan. That is to say, you did a kinyan over each and every penny, and therefore you're going to pay the whole thing. Mashenkin, if there was no kinyan, if there was a regular ketubah without kinyan, yeah, or no extra kinyan, I think some Rishonim say, there wasn't a kinyan to show seriousness about the whole thing. So then, no. Then we go back to the norm, and the norm in that place is to say 100 and mean 50 because there was no kinyan to officialize it and make it more serious and make it more set in stone. Okay. No, because it's accepted. There's no mishapor. It's accepted. It's known. It's known. Similar, but not the same as we said yesterday. Yeah. If I right, if somebody sells you something called the new room, and the new room is not new anymore, it's old. It's still called the new room. Yeah. Then what? Then you get an old room that everyone calls the new room. It's not a lie. That's what people call it. Remember the kerem, the pardes, right? People call it the kerem. There's not even one tree. It's just an empty plot. If people call it that way, then good. Yeah. Weiter. Now, comes now Ravina. Ravina mashbach v'kosiv le barte. Ravina himself would be mishabeach, which means Ravina would write double to his daughter. He would really mean 50. And following the halacha, Ravina is, by the way, the last generation of Ameroim. Ravina, after all that, would be mishabeach, would write double and mean half, which was absolutely accepted and right and good. Omrle nikni minei demal. So now they said, okay, do a kinyan on that. Do a kinyan. He said, no, no, no. He said like this. Oh, Malahu. He told them, Imikna loy michpal. If I'll do a kinyan, then I'm not going to write double. I'm a koilel guy. I'm not going to give 100,000, only 50. So if I do a kinyan, I can't be koifel. And so what's wrong with that? Imichpal loy mikna, right? In other words, if I will do the kefel, yeah, if I'll stay double, there won't be a kinyan. And that's what I prefer. In other words, I prefer my daughter having covered and the chosen having covered and writing the bigger amount. Yeah, I prefer that, and I want to be stay truthful and not do a kinyan. Because if I will do kinyan, I'll have to really follow what I say the whole 100. I can't afford that, and therefore I choose to give more covered, even though I'm not going to give it at the end. Yeah, and everything should look nice, and the chosen kala will have shalom bayis, and they'll tell all the friends, 100,000. That's better rather than the other way, because if I'll do a kinyan, I'll have to do 50. I can't lie. And that's what he stayed with. Ahu Gavra, another story related to the same halacha. Ahu Gavra Domer Lahu, a person told the people, yeah, that Ahu Gavra, yeah, he told, I want 400 Havullah. In other words, that man, by the way, was a Shchiv Mira. Ahu Gavra was a man at his deathbed. Yeah, was Metzia Machmas Misa. Lo Leinu, a person about to die. Everything he says is very choshuv, without a kinyan. Yeah. Now that man, the Omer Lehu, he told people, his messengers, his helpers, his family, there's a daughter that is in Shidduchim, whatever. He knows eventually she'll be under the chuppah and he'll be hopefully under a different chuppah. Yeah. Each one is under a chuppah and everyone's jealous of the other guy's chuppah made out of Torah and Maisim Toivim. So I'll be under the chuppah in Shemaim. Yeah. Basra in Amud Aleph. And what? And I want to tell you how much, what kind of money I'm telling you to give her under the chuppah from our side, from the kala side, how much am I promising? Havula arba mea zuzi lebarti biksuboso. I, from the chosens, from the kala side, the nedunya that she brings into the marriage, I want her to, from our side, we are giving 400 zuz. Ever sat with mechutonim? Oh, is the mechuton saying, I'm giving 400 zuz in Ketubah. The question is, what does it mean? The place where this guy lived was one of these half-double places. You say X, and you mean X divided by 2, half X, yeah? So what's going on? Now that created a halachic question. Arba mea de inun tamni mea. Did he actually mean 400 to give her practically, and therefore we have to write 800? Did he mean 400 ms? 400 is the end result, yeah, the end of the mathematical equation, or did he and written 800? Oh, did he mean arba me'azuzi the inun moson? Did he mean 400 to be written and photographed under the chuppah? Well, in practice, you'll only get 200. Where is the 400? Which part of the equation, the first or the second? Yeah, is it 400 the end result, or 400 is the original amount? Will be divided into 2. What's the story? We don't know. Now there are 2 different answers as far as I remember. Omar Vashi Chazinan. Let's be medaik in the words. I Omar, if he said havu, what was the verb he was using? If he said havu, what's havu? Give. Havulo arba me'azuzi. Havulo. If he said give her, what does giving mean? Giving. I'm giving. Yeah, means what? Arba me'azuzi. The inun tamni mea. He meant the 400 is what's going to be given, and 800 will be written and said and photographed by the videographer. But Lamaista, give 400 means Achos end result 4. And the nice declaration is 8. If he said if he said write for her 400, you write 400. 400 is what's written and declared. Everyone knows very well at the end of the story, she'll only get the inu that are 200. Very simple. Did he say I'm giving 400? Then he has to give 4 and he writes 8. If he said I'm writing 4, he's writing 4. At the end of the day, giving 2. By the way, it's not the end of the marriage. Excuse me, I made a mistake again. No, it's not my day today. I'm sorry. No, not the end of the marriage. The Chosens, the colossal, sorry, the colossal and her father, their promise is right away. The day after the wedding, you know, when all the mechonat kvisa and the oven and all that comes and the ventilator, yeah, and the fan, all that's right away a question. Do they deserve in a dunya all the appliances worth 400 or worth 200? I wasn't wrong conceptually, though. Conceptually, it's true. It also works the other way. Yeah, you giving me half, I'm playing the COVID game the other way too, says the chosen. When I write you that in case of divorce, in case of death, you're getting $1 million, it really means $500,000. Just works both ways. Just in this particular story, we spoke about the father of the Kala. That's all. I'm just medayik. Yeah. Ikadamri, another possible answer to reconcile and know when did the almost dead guy, when did he mean half or did he mean the whole thing? Ikadamri, Omar Vashi, Chazinan. Yeah, let's see. There's another way to be midaik the words of the Shchiv Mera. I Omar lik suboso, the preposition. If he said for her ksuba, if I say I'm giving you money for something, I'm giving you 200 shekels for a purpose, it means I mean business, right? I'm giving you 100 shekels for shopping, towards shopping, 100 shekel for shopping. If you tell my son, tell him, take 100 shekel for, that is, use it. That's the MS, that's a business. If it's for the value of a ksuba, it's 400. And you're right, 8, and everyone feels good and feels rich and nice. The Omer b'ksubasa, if it says in the ksuba, it means in the ksuba itself. In the text of the ksuba, you hear? In other words, if he says give her 400 zuz b'ksuba, in the ksuba, that is to say, not for batachlis, in the ksuba, that's what's written. Like in the ksuba, I want to have a picture of 2 doves in the top, you know. In the ksuba, though, that's a nice text to write 400. Practically, 200 will be given. Velohi, the Gemara actually rejects that answer and says loishna de omer liksubasa, veloishna de omer biksubasa. We say no, it does make a difference whether it said for the ksuba or in the ksuba. It means arba mazuzi dinun mason. No, we say the assumption is when people say 400, they mean 400. They really mean 2. They really mean 2. Yeah. In other words, that's what I don't know actually why. I didn't see the Meforshim here well enough today, I have to admit. Lamaisa, the Gemara, 1 second, assumes that the person goes for the lower option. Maybe it's kind of, I'm saying it tongue in cheek, kind of thing. In other words, when we're not sure, we assume, that if he said liksuba or biksuba, he actually means only to be written in the ksuba 400 to look nice, but practically 200. Unless the Omar havu lo stoma. Unless he said give her, yeah. If he said give her, if he said give, then we assume the other way, as we said before, the previous teretz. If he says give her 400, he means give 400. If he didn't say give 400, he just spoke about the ksuba. We assume he means the nice part, the writing part, which is 4, and practically she'll get 2. Only if he said give her 400, then we write 8, and she'll be given 4. Her husband actually will be given 4. The couple will get 4. Yes, I am with you. You okay? Yeah, questions? Better. Now we're done with the Lashon Hediot. And now we're back to what did the Mishnah speak about? Remind me. The Mishnah spoke about a person who is an Oris, and he outright, Mamish was a Batlan, an entire year it didn't work. The entire year he was Moivir, the land, let it lay fallow, right? And now, how much should he pay? Well, me'ikardin, nothing. Why? He is an oris, not a chochir. A chochir has to pay, like you said correctly, a chochir, pay up. I don't care what you did. And oris has to pay percentage. How much is a percentage of zero? Zero. I did. However, says the Mishnah, because there's a loshen hediot, because it's an accepted business deal amongst arisim to write, if I don't do anything and I just let it lay like that and just leave it empty, yeah, I would still give you the percentage that he would have made. You have to bring professional people, or maybe the people assess it themselves. We have to assess and say, with this weather conditions and this and then the other, how much would the field would have done, would have produced, would have yielded, yeah, would have yielded, I don't know, 100 tons. Then you have to pay me the value, the monetary value of, let's say it's half of 50 tons. Zeh halacha. We follow it. That's a Mishnah, by the way. That's not yet even a Chiddush. On top of that, now we're saying a story to relate to that. Ahu gavra de kibel ara michavre. A person accepted from his friend a piece of land, and he said, Omar, the Oris now said, Imo varna lo, if I moivir it, if I leave it, let it lay fallow, empty, don't work the entire year. It's a very long coffee break of the whole year. You know, I'm going to sit in koilel, which is very nice. Yahiv nalach alfa zuzi. Wow. I'll give you 1,000 zuz. That's a lot. In other words, he did not speak about percentage. He made a set amount. I'm fining myself, so to speak. Yeah. And if I'm not working for a year, 1,000 zuz cash you're getting. Okay. That's nice. Regardless of anything, regardless of how much you would have been making, yielding, I'm giving a set amount of 1,000 if I'm mover it for the year. Oivir tilsa. He let 1/3 lay fallow. 2/3 of the field he worked very nicely. 1/3, he went home. 1/3 of the field he just abandoned, neglected, and all very nice or not so nice. Amri Nardoi, wait, Nardoi, the Bnei HaYeshiva of Nardoi, they said, Dinahu, the Yoivle, Klas Mevetlosin V'tilsa V'tilsa. Very, very nice. That's meant for you. If he said for the entire year 1,000, 1/3 of the field, how much does he owe him? 333.33333333. The calculator has no room, right? That's what he owes him because that's part of the agreement, right? A whole year is 1,000. 1/3 of the field for a whole year is 1/3 of 1,000. That's 333.33. That's what he owes him. That's what the Bnei HaYeshiva of Nardo said. Pashut, you're mischayev. Stand by your word. Rove Omar, Rove says, Nishtazoi, asmachta Rabbi. It's an asmachta. The asmachta loikanya. No, we've been seeing asmachta so many times. What's an asmachta? Asmachta is, although I promise, if the promise seems to be so exaggeration, you can call it that way. If the promise is understandably out of line, out of his ability, 1,000 zuz is way more than what I assume. I'm not a mumch in agriculture or Talmudic currencies, but 1,000 zuz is a lot of money. I guess way more than what the field would have produced. And therefore, such a word of his mouth is not serious, and you should have known it. Yeah, if I tell you people, you know, whoever gives a nice answer is going to win tomorrow for me a trip to, I don't know, a cruise to the Caribbean. You understand I'm joking, right? You're not, nobody would come to me with demanding a trip to the Caribbean. Not for me, right? Maybe another Magid Shiur. It's understandable that he's talking shtiot and he just wants to appease and sound nice and sound whatever. If the Gemara, excuse me, you're saying it's much more? How do you know? The Gemara does challenge Rava from our Mishnah. Yeah, well, Rava, what's the difference from our Mishnah? It says in the Mishnah, Im oivir velo avid, ashalem b'meitava. In other words, the Gemara in the question didn't know what I said. The Gemara in the question thinks, wait a second, why should the Mishnah be any different than 1,000 zuz? Because if I don't work the land, I didn't do any percentage, there is no percentage, why should I pay you? It's illogical. If I say, you know, I'm giving you money for no reason, way beyond what I owe you, mapitom should I owe it to you? In other words, if Rava looks at 1,000 zuz as an exaggeration and an asmachta, so too in the Mishnah. If people talk shtuyot, why should we follow that? The guy didn't work. He can complain and scream and say, why didn't you work hard? I'm working by percentage. It's very common. I'm not saying if it's good or bad, but most people go to chutzah for moisad, right? To collect money. They take percentage. Let's say the guy is sent by Shivas Chevron, Panovich, Belz, Gur, to America, to Chves Lakewood in New York and 5 towns, New York and 5 towns, and and what, in Albany, and he doesn't do anything. He sits all day in Besmesha, didn't do anything. Better. He paid for his own ticket. What do you want? Why should he give you a percentage? He didn't do anything, right? So it's also not logical to say that he should pay the percentage that he would have done. He didn't do. He's not giving a percentage. And says the Gemara, what I told you before is the answer now. Hosam loika gozim. Over there, he was not magzim. In other words, it's not a guzma. In other words, there is logic to it. It's true that me'ikar din, he made 0, so 0 percentage, but the numbers make sense. The numbers are not skyrocketing and not relevant. He said, even if it don't work, I want to secure you the same percentage I would have done. Percentage of, I don't know, 3 meters by 3 meters field is a few hundred. That makes sense. The numbers make sense. Over here, Kevin the Comer Milsa Yaserta, he's saying an extra word, 1,000. It's a whole new shum. Guzma be'almahu dekagozim. That's just an exaggeration. Very nice. The word you said. It's a guzma. Not every asmachta is a guzma. This is asmachta because it's a guzma. Again, let's repeat. It's true that ikar adin, if there was no such agreement, and I work by percentage, and I did 0, I owe 0. Come people in the times of the Mishnah and invented a new idea that sometimes, many times, Arisim would say, listen, I really don't owe you anything, ikar adin, but let's make a workable, sensible, logical number. Had I been working, I would have given you a third of the field, let's say, and a third of the field is X. Now, too, I'll give you a third of the field. I'll stick to normal numbers that would have been the numbers in a normal year. That's Beseder. That's not a smachta. Yeah, although he's paying kilu for nothing, it's a kiknas. But if you give me 1,000, ma kesher, 1,000, it's normal. Yeah. If I promise you 50 shekels for a good answer, not to you, chas v'sholom, I'm not saying my children at the Shabbos table, they'll give a nice answer, tell them, get you 20 shekels, Seder. I don't think they deserve it, 20 shekels. If I tell a kid at the Shabbos table, I'm giving you to Switzerland, of course it's a shtus. Now, it depends on the amount. 1,000 zuz is way beyond anything normal, and avad it's a guzma, and everybody knows that the guy was joking, was trying to, as we said before, ptumi mili. He's trying to sound nice, no questions. The question is 10:25. We have to continue because we're going to have a break now for a few days. So I really want to get to a certain point, and then I'll listen to your questions. Ahu Gavra. Oh, now I don't even know if we'll actually get to that point. Before we get to the next case, which has to do with laying the land fallow, there is a plus, there is an advantage in letting the land stay empty and not work it for a year. Yeah. In other words, we know about Shemitah, but I know that even Goyish farmers, there's a name for it, to let the land rest for a year. Fallow, I know that word. No, there's a word, there's another word. No, I know that word. In other words, the point is that sometimes if the land rests, in other words, it regains its power because every time the land gives its koyach, yeah, how's it called? Akashta. It's makrish. Lakrish is to make it emaciated. The land then yields a lot of fruit and vegetables and beautiful wheat and barley. The land itself gets weaker. You know, it's using up its energy, its muscles, so to speak. So the person who actually, what? Nutrients, right? I meant muscles, obviously, is yeah. So now, so Lamaisa, there is a mile here. If the land stays empty, yeah, I'm not saying nothing should be done, but the etzem, if the land stays empty, the land also rests and regains its power for next year, which is just remember that as a side fact. Now, let's remember another factor. Sometimes certain produce demands more energy from the ground, takes away, sucks up more energy than other things. For example, the Gemara is going to give us now, and I'm introducing the case to save you a lot of work later. There's wheat, which we all know about, and there's sesame, sumsumin, mentioned at the beginning of second parak, yeah, from Kita Daled. Sesame is more expensive. So if somebody grows sesame, the same amount of wheat, sesame is fancy, you know, at least in the times of the Gemara. Yeah, I think even today, sesame is probably more expensive than wheat, I imagine, yeah. So sesame seeds were considered delicacy. They're always mentioned as a choshev thing. Sesame seeds, they're worth more. They're more valuable, and they actually sell for more. But, caveat, they also suck up more energy. So you can either go for, you know, be like a safe investor, get the wheat, which is worth less, but also doesn't take much energy, or you can go for the sesame. You're going to get more, but also your land will get more tired. These are the two options we have now. Aru Gavra, there was a man, the Kabil Ara Lisumsumi. Originally, he accepted the land to be what? To be an oris in order to grow sesame in there, which means more pain and more gain. The land will be more tired and worth less, but the sumsum is worth a lot in the market. The Zaro Chiti, oh, and instead of that, he did not follow the contract. He did his own thing. He's a free thinker. What did he do? He decided that he's going to do chita. But listen to what happened. Lucky guy, lucky guy. Of the chiti, kesum sami. You know what happened? Lucky man. Before the balabais gets to scream at him, I want sumsumi that are worth, let's say, I would sell the sumsumi in that field for 100,000, and the chitim would be only 80,000. The price of wheat went up. War, Ukraine, Russia. All of a sudden, the wheat is more expensive. Lucky man. He really invested what? Less. Excuse me. He invested chiti, which is less, would be worth 80. Now the gap has been filled because really, why? The chita became more expensive. Oh, Salamaisa, Balabais, and him, they share now a result of 100,000. Oh, and you know what? Wait. Now, he caused the gain to Balabais. Why? Because the land is now, oh, you got 100,000 and the land is not depleted. The land is nice and fresh relative, and you got 100,000. Sava of Kahana thought Lemema to say Menaki lekachsha de'ara. Maybe the Balabais should pay him more. In other words, should take less for himself in the percentage and give more percentage to who? To the Oris, because the Oris caused him a gain, right? Why? Because now the Oris planted something which is not so tiring for the ground, and yet the result, the money is the same. No. Ami inshi, people say there's a saying by people, this is something we have to understand. People prefer to have a land that the word, it's a game of words, it's a play on words. What's kachush? Emaciated, sin, right? Somebody who doesn't eat. Kachush land is a land that's depleted. People say, the Balabais would say, I prefer to have a more tired land than me being more kochush and not having money to feed my family. Which means, let me explain to you. It's a very, very gishmak explanation. You, Mr. Oris, bet me right. You planted what? You planted the chita, which is less tiring. At the end of the day, same amount. Oh, you brought me revach. How are you marviach me? You're marviach because now my land is not so tired. And next year, that land will be what? Will be more fresh and nice, invigorated for the next season. Okay, so now the Oris wants to deduct that from where? From the percentage given to Balabais. Now, did I tell you to do that? No. You did that al das atzmecha. As nice as Mr. Oris was, Mr. Oris worked without telling Balabais. So really, the Oris is playing a little bit of a dirty trick over here, which means it's true that it caused an indirect gain to Balabais, that the land is now going to be fresh for next year. Now he wants to take that now from the salary of Balabais. Balabais says, no. You can't take away one thing from me and give it back to me in a way that I don't want. I prefer my land being more tired with sumsumim. At the end of the day, mitzad, the price in the market, sumsumim and chitim are the same. The only difference is the land. You, Kilu, did me a favor by keeping my land fresh, so next year I'll have better, and on the expense of that, you want to take from my pocket, from my children's food. Rashi says, you're taking from the food of me and my children. I'm kachush. Instead of giving me, you want to take the difference, let's say the difference between this land and the other land is 10,000 shekels. I prefer 10,000 shekels in my account now because I have to pay my water bill and electricity bill. I prefer that over you, big chacham, taking away from my salary and what? And investing it in my land, becoming more fresh and better next year. Who told you to do that? Therefore, no. Therefore, unless they decided on that before, the Oris should jolly well give the Balabais his full part, yeah, and not be compensated for the fact that the land became fresh. The land is fresh, that's a side benefit. You made your own decisions. Because of your own decisions, the land is now nice and fresh for next year. Thank you. It's like you tell a worker, I'm giving you some special bonus, a trip to a hotel in Eilat. Instead of that, half your salary is slashed. No, I need my salary more than the trip to Eilat. I need to feed my family. Don't give me some foolish trip to Eilat on the expense on your account and your initiative instead of me actually getting the basics that I need. That's a logical balabais. Therefore, balabais will get paid in full, not paid, will get his share in full. The fact that the Oris did something, by the way, it's not more work. The fact that the Oris did something that causes the land, it's very groma, to make the land stay fresh and nice, thank you. Thank you. I accept that gift. I don't have to give anything back in return. And that's what we say, La Aloha. There are two other cases. Okay, I guess after the holiday on Sunday, Meretz Hashem, we'll have to repeat this case and another two cases. One is above, one is equal, and one is below. The Sumsum and the Chita. Okay, thank you very much. Time for a question. And thank you very much. Atzloch Rabba to everybody here in Avos Shalom, to our viewers, the entire Anytime, colossal, and our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Time for questions and comments. Yishar Koyach. Have a great day and see you on Sunday, Meretz Hashem. Thank you. And Elul. Elul is coming. Yeah, today's Chav Ches Av. Whoa. And Elul is near. Thank you.